Okay, so we are recording. We're going to go into Clip Studio today. It's a new program. I've only got the trial version, so we're going to draw some dogs. I'm just going to work on this profile today. And this is just sort of me learning how to do this myself. And I'm just going to talk you through what I'm doing right now, and maybe some of it will be right, maybe some of it will be wrong. But I'm going to do my best, and I hope it can be of some help to you if you're a student and maybe just hearing my process will help you too. But we're just going to go for it here. So this is a new program. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get the gesture of this dog right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this video program because it's distracting because you can see the mirror. There we go. Okay. So now we've got, just get the gesture here. Right, because the temptation, at least for me and I know a lot of other people when they're starting out, is like they'll start out and be like, okay, let's get every detail on this eye and then work our way out from there. So we're going to get a really good eye, and then they'd be like, I got to get the head. And then basically as you do that, and then you're like, okay, let me get this ear really good, and let me get every hair on this ear. And then what ends up happening is you get this kind of, everything's out of proportion because you're focused on all the parts. So that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to focus on all these little details and drawing every single little detail, because then we're going to get out of proportion. And I'm still very sloppy with this program because it's my first time using it, because I discontinued my Photoshop use because I wasn't using it enough because I've been doing more traditional, so I'm just using a free program right now. But anyway, this should serve the purpose of just helping me do this demo. So the first thing I want to do is get the mass of the skull. So we're going to get the brain case here. And I think I'm actually going to go ahead and include some of the jaw in that, right? Because with a skull, in fact, let's go ahead and pull up an image, of a dog skull. Okay, so let's look at this dog skull. We can use this one, sure. Now look at this. We've got a big old brain case. And then all this down here, it's not part of the brain case. We actually have the jaw hanging down. The jaw hinges right around here. It attaches to, I believe it's called the... Actually, no, I forget what it's called. Up here is called the coronoid process. This little hooky thing here. But it hinges right here. And then what you have here is the zygomatic arch, otherwise known as the cheekbone. It feeds into here, into like the maxilla area. And then we've got these canines that come down, these really big canines. And then we have these lower canines, and we have 6 teeth up here, 6 teeth down here. And over here we've got the, I don't know what you call these, but these sort of interlock. And then back here you've got some, I believe they're just for chewing teeth. And then you've got the sockets for the eyes, which face forward because dogs are carnivores. In herbivores, you're going to have the eyes facing on the sides. See if we go to, how about a deer skull? You'll see these sockets are on the side more. You can also see it on a cow skull. See, look how much on the side these are. That's so they can look out when they're grazing, and so they can look behind them. But on a cat or a dog, you're going to have the eyes facing front. See how frontal these are? Because they're predators. So anyway, we're going to go into our skull here. Let's see, that doesn't mean we're going to draw every detail of the skull as we do this. We're just going to get the big shapes. We're just going to think about a ball here. And then we're going to, I like to do... I apologize if my voice is gone. I've got a little bit of a cold. I don't think it's COVID, which is good. I think I'd know if I had COVID. We're just getting... So first we do the jaw area, and this would include the flaps of the mouth. Because we see on the skull we have this bony area, and then the mouth... So if the skull is like, this is the jaw, okay? Think about this being the jaw. We've got the part that goes up here underneath the zygomatic arch, and then we've got the hinge here, and then we've got a little hook, and that's for the muscles to attach to. Then, so if we've got the zygomatic arch going like that, okay? Zygomatic arch goes here. I like to think about the zygomatic arch as a bridge that goes over this jawbone here. And the jawbone is like a river that flows underneath the bridge. So this jawbone's going to be going under here. And then the mouth is going to be hanging down. Think of these as, it's almost like clothing or drapery that hangs down over the hard bone. So hard bone, soft skin. So the soft skin is hanging over the bone. All right. Now we've got this eye socket. And then the eye is just a ball that sits within that socket. And then the lids are going to wrap over the eye. A lot of times we'll get caught up doing the eye as a symbol. Something like that. And you can do that in cartooning, more so. But even then you want to pay attention to the structure. If I'm doing a cartoon, I'm still going to think about the structure of it. If I'm doing the eye, I still want to think about that lid, that upper lid, the thickness of the upper lid. I want to think about the eyelashes going over, which you can indicate with this overlap here. And you want to think about the thickness of the lower lid. One conception would be, here's the ball, here's a profile view of the eye. Here's the lid that wraps over, like that. See, and these are the lids, and this is the eyeball, and the eye sees like this. And then the eye sits in the socket, so we've got sort of a crater. If you can think about this as a crater on the moon, and then if you shoot a basketball, right, you put a basketball, or maybe it's a nest with an egg in it. So it's like a basketball sitting in a crater on the moon, or it's a egg in a nest. You've kind of got this feel to it, but just make sure that the crater's protecting the eyeball. The eyeball's not actually going to stick out. I believe that only happens in like frogs. So think about this as the bony case for the eyeball, where it's protecting the eye. So if something were to hit your eye, someone, if you're walking through the woods and, you encounter a stick, that this is going to protect your eye. And that's why when you want to gouge someone's eyes, you poke them with your finger instead of hitting them with your entire fist. If you want to gouge someone's eyes, you just use a finger because that can penetrate the bony structure. So that's one way to remember that the bony structure protects around the eye, but then you can insert things like a stick goes into the eye or anything like that. Okay, but anyway, so we have these eyelids drooping over. Now, so when you're drawing the eye, think about the layers of protection. We've got many things to protect our eyes since they're so important. So we've got, first of all, we've got this bony ridge created by the skeleton. That could be something like that. And then we've got the more bone down here, so we've got the socket itself. And we're also, this part that's sticking out is probably going to be more like muscle, I would imagine, because it's pulling up here. Bear with me, I'm learning this as I go. So the artists to look up for actually learning this stuff for real would be Glenn Vilppu or Joe Weatherly, who are both teach on New Masters. Joe Weatherly's got a great book. I'm sure Glenn Vilppu has good books on animal anatomy. But if you want to learn from the real pros, go to them. They know way more than I do. This should just get you introduced. I see. See, I'm just learning this. So I was using white instead of black. Now, something's going on. I think I selected the wrong type of brush. Star. I don't want that. I want... Oh, yeah. See, I selected the wrong point. I don't want an effect. I just want a brush. How do I do that? Am I doing this right? Okay. Alright. So now we've got this brow over here. We go over here. This is the frontal bone, I believe. And then we go back into the back of the head. This is the brain case. The brain case goes like this. And here we can have the end of the zygomatic arch. Go like that. Then, what's important here is think about, as you're thinking about the brow, the shape that we create, we're looking at the break. That's really distinctive in animals. In a bear, it'll be different than in a dog. Let's go look up a bear. So here, bear head profile. Look at the break. See, this one goes like out, and then it's pretty much a vertical, straight down, and then out. If you look at a cat, it's more like, it's more downward, right? We got this down, it's like an obtuse angle, less of a right angle, more of an obtuse angle. Go down, and it's very slanted towards the bottom. See that angled here? It's like I like to think with these angles, I like to think if I were skiing down a slope. So I'm skiing down a slope. See, we got a person. And he's skiing down a slope. What angle is he going to be skiing at? So imagine you're a skier and think, okay, if I'm skiing down this slope, am I going to be going faster or slower? So on this one, I'm always thinking, if I'm skiing down this slope, does it seem like I'm skiing at the right angle? You can also think about a ball rolling. And does that ball need to roll faster or slower? So as I do this, I'm like, if there's a ball rolling down here, how does it roll? The ball rolls here, and it rolls down, and it goes out. So that's going to be distinctive on a lot of different breeds, and it'll help differentiate the species what the break is. This is the break. Think about that break a lot. Place a lot of importance on identifying that break, because that's going to be really distinctive. It'll help you differentiate between species, so make sure you take note of what the break is doing there. On a dog, it's pretty much going to be like parallel, parallel, slant. And the severity of that slant is going to change. But parallel, parallel, it might be like that. Okay, so that's that. Just going to go ahead and get the nose. Now the nasal bone goes about like that. And then the nose is actually constructed of cartilage, which sockets in like this. And then we come around to get the mouth. And then here, I got this term from Joe Weatherly, it's called the whisker bed, and that's where the whiskers are going to sit. And then here, we should be able to, I just learned about this, we should be able to identify the masseter. Let me look up the masseter. Masseter dog skull. Okay, so that sockets in. It fits right into the zygomatic arch. It does not extend beyond. It goes under, maybe even goes under the zygomatic arch. Does that look right? That's really interesting. But I think, yeah, so it goes a little bit under. So it looks like it wraps over. Now, can I change the color here? Yeah. So the masseter is a muscle that controls the jaw. So we're going to go here. And we actually are going to wrap all the way around here, and we're going to socket into the zygomatic. And then, what's the angle that it exits? It exits out on this angle. We're going to pay attention to the striations here. How do I increase the size like that? Oops. Okay. Can I do a different layer? Sorry, I'm still learning these tools. How do I do a new layer? That looks like layers. Okay, so I want to do a new layer. New. And then we should be on brush, right? Okay. I don't know why it keeps changing it to white. Must be doing something wrong. So those are the striations of the muscle. That's the way it pulls. That's the direction it pulls in. I don't know why it's... Okay, I must have done something there. It's acting strangely. Oh, adventures. Okay. We're also going to have some muscles around the eye. We're going to have some muscles up top here to control the ears. We're going to have muscles that pull I'm going to look at the muscles of the dog's skull. Okay, so yeah. We're going to have muscles that pull on the nose. There's like a triangular muscle here. There's one that pulls down towards here and one that pulls down towards there. And one that pulls from the ear to here. Okay. One that goes like that. There's one that goes like that. Okay. All of this is just preparatory. And I'm just kind of conceptualizing. Okay, what I want to do is I want to reduce the opacity of this layer so I can go over it. Now I can go like this. Okay, good. I also want to reduce this. Maybe even a little bit more. Okay. Now I want to do a new layer. Whoops, not vector. Raster. Pixels. Okay, so we're going to go use a black, and we're going to go to this dog. So for this dog, let's see, is my opacity correct here? Pick watercolor. I should have full. Where's my opacity? Density of paint. Okay, all right. So for this guy, we've got our ball, okay? Let me go up here. I like to think about sunglasses to create the shape of the eyes. So I like to think about this shape. So now we've got our sunglasses, which creates the orbit. If it were head on, it'd be like this. Oops. Like that. But in perspective, we're only going to see this. So I'm thinking about the brow. Thickness of the brow coming like that. Okay. The eye is going to fit in there. We're going to have the lids coming over. Here's the lower lid. The skin covers the skull. Comes down. This is going to be the nuchal ligament. Now the nuchal, I believe it's called the nuchal. It might be the nuchal. Let me check. Nuchal ligament. Yes, it's the nuchal ligament, but we're going to want it in the dog. That stretches on the back of the neck. So what you see, let's see, in the dog. Okay, here we have the dog. The nuchal ligament is here. See, it stretches. So we've got the spine, but the back of the neck, this isn't just the spine right here. It's the neck. The neck has the spine at the center. So the neck is buried in the spine is buried in the neck, more in the middle. And what we see on the outside is going to be the nuchal ligament. So this is not the spine right here. It is right here, and then it goes down deeper. So on mine, it's going to be, the spine would be going like something like this. It wouldn't be this. What we see here is going to be the nuchal ligament. So now, remember, this isn't the bone right here. We're going over with the skin. So the skin is going over. It looks like it loops around, doesn't it? And that's going to be, pay attention to the vertical alignings, how things are aligning vertically. So this should be ending up around here. And it might be that my muzzle is too long, in which case I can change that. It's never too late to change things. It's never too late to correct a drawing. Except if you're working in watercolor or something. Then you're a little bit effed if you mess up and you might just want to start again. But it's okay if you mess up. I think about that all the time. So this shape's going to be, let's see, we're going to go like that. Just think of your drawings as as stepping stones. It's okay if you mess up. I mean, I'm messing up a ton on this, but I'm learning as I go. Now, I don't want to just copy the photo. I'm analyzing the photo as I go, because that way I can use it. That way I can use the information I'm learning. If I just copied this one for one, I could do a much better job if I just copied this, but I'm not trying to copy it. I'm trying to understand what's going on, because when I understand what's going on, that way I can use it. I can draw it from imagination. So I'm looking at this whisker bit. It looks, and I think I made the snout too big. Yeah, I wonder if I can I make a lasso? Yeah, I don't know how to use this new technology, this new program yet. It's okay. We're gonna just do it manually. Just chop off a bit of his nose. Savage as that sounds, we're just gonna chop off his nose and we're gonna erase the rest, just like we would if it were traditional. I do like doing it manually anyway, just because it's nice not to be too reliant on Control-Z and being able to erase instantaneously. Or just be able to move stuff, I mean. And resize, it's good to be able to know how to fix things without relying on digital tools. So we're going to go down here. And this stuff is just skin that's hanging off. Think about it's a person wearing an outfit made of skin or something. So let's see, we're going to think about, with the ears I like to think about the origin of the ear. I like to think about where it's attaching to the skull. So for this one, it looks like it attaches maybe here. So maybe it's a row, maybe this is where it attaches. So think of it like as the ground plan for a house or something, and this is where we're going to build off of. So we've got, just think of the big shape here. So if I had to conceptualize this, I'd say it looks like a big old comma. Or a raindrop. It looks like a big raindrop. So let's think of that shape as we draw it. Squint. Squinting helps, because it forces you to see the big shapes. Let me erase this so it doesn't distract me. Here. I'm going to think of the big shape. I'm going to think of this as a raindrop. So we come down here, then up here, we're going to think about, okay, this aligns horizontally, so that's around where the curve happens. I like to build with straight lines too. It's hard to get the curves exactly right, but if you think of it in terms of straight lines, now think of the vertical. Make sure that I'm maintaining that proper distance from the eye. It's like an inch. Okay, so something like that would be good. And then I'm thinking about this. I'm going like that. I'm going up. I'm just thinking in terms of straights, because straights are, I don't know what is going on with this. I don't know if I made some sort of wet area. It seems like that's what happened, is I made some sort of smudged area, which created some sort of effect. I'm going to see if making a new layer resolves that. Oops. Oh, it's because I'm doing white. I'm so confused. Okay, there we go. So it's like that, and then we come up. Now I want to see how does that line up with the nose. Okay, that's pretty good. And then we go up here. And then we go like that. Okay, now we're gonna see if we can get that nose a bit more accurate, like that. I'm so confused with this technology. I'm erasing, right? But the eraser has to be on a color? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's because it's on a different layer. Okay, I got you. This is, where's my layer? There's my layer, okay. So now I need to go into here. Erase that, yeah, okay. Okay, and we'll go up into that layer. Brush, okay. And I'm doing some weird tool. Okay, so if I hit the brush tool twice, it gives me something different than if I hit it once. Okay, this should actually be going down more, this nuchal ligament. Yeah, something like that. Erase that. Now, I've pretty much got my construction in place. What I do now is I just scan, like, am I missing anything major? Got that. I want to see if I've got my zygomatic arch going. Maybe I want to indicate the masseter a bit. It looks like that would be the masseter, this little shape here. And now I might want to get in and detail the nose. How the nose goes, goes down here. And it's going to curl up. Now let's, because I can't see it in the photo, I'm going to look up dog nose profile. Okay, so we've got this little comma shape. So there's a little slit here. It feeds up and down. It does a little loop. So it's almost like a musical note. It's almost like this kind of a shape, where it's a musical note. And it goes oop, up, and down. So if I reverse that over here, it's going to go oop, up, and down. Okay. So we'll go back to our original image. See, what I'm doing is I'm working from this photo, but I'm not just relying on the photo and copying the photo. I'm supplementing the information from the photo. I'm supplementing the photo with external information, with extra information. In the age of the internet where you can just Google something, it really helps to just look from different sources. And especially with photos, you want to get photos from different angles, so you're not just bound to, like in this photo, can you tell where the zygomatic arch is? Not really, but if you look up a dog skull, you can kind of get a feel for where it is. And you're not going to be perfect, and that's what I'm doing right now, is just practicing trying to put this stuff in place. I'm looking at the photo, I'm trying to plug in the anatomy. That doesn't mean I'm going to draw the anatomy in full every time, but I do want to practice putting it in so I have an understanding, because that understanding will show up. Now I want to see if I can merge these layers, and then I want to do reduced opacity, and then I'm going to go to a new raster layer. And then what I would do at this point is I would work on lighting. So I would figure out where the shadows are. And because I've broken it down into forms, I can figure out where the shadows are. So if I want the light coming in from the, how about here, from the front? So like that. It's coming in from the front and the left. So I'm going to think about how these shadows are falling. I'm only going to map into light and shadow. So I'm going to map here. I'm going to think about the roundness of this form. So I want to shade it as if it's a sphere. Now I want this indicated. I don't just want it as a straight line. I want to indicate the roundness of this form, so I'm going to have a rounded shadows. I'm going to bring this around here. Here. So I'm just creating my shadow shapes now. It's okay to modify them to make them look better than they actually are in reality. We don't want to copy the photo. We just want to analyze it and use it. So, the only indication I have of that nostril is that little bit of light there. So I'm not going to go in and get super detailed. I'm going to squint my eyes and say, what's the shape I see when I squint? And I don't see this when I squint. I see this. I see this crescent shape. I also see, and it's not going to be a hard edge, but I'm going to make it a hard edge for now. And then I can always come in and soften that edge. Now I see this eye. I see the edge of this mouth coming a little bit in front of the eye. So we're going to do like that. And then we're just going to have that looping shape. This is going to wrap around. And we can always do the highlights. I'm not going to worry about the little highlights in here. I can always erase those out later. Now, it looks like we're capturing a lot of light in here. Or rather, there's not a lot of light getting into this ear. In the photo, it looks like the light's coming over from behind more. So, if it's coming from the front, I'd say I definitely want to have a lot of light catching on the rim of that ear to indicate the thickness of it. I like this catching on the, I think that's the temple. So let's try that. We can use that. We can go up into here. And then we'll balance that against this shadow to create a little bit sliver of light in here. So we're just designing our shadows now. We can actually go ahead and merge these shadows up. Now it looks like there's skin that's raised here. Maybe skin and muscle that's causing a raise in the surface here. I want to do this. I feel like that's going to look cool. And maybe something like that. It's kind of like a bat symbol type of shape. Yeah, that feels good to me. Okay. Again, I'm just learning as I go, and I'm okay with making mistakes. Because if you avoid mistakes, you also avoid getting better. So don't be afraid to take risks and get humbled, because that's where a lot of learning happens. Alright? Don't worry about looking foolish. That's just what you sign up for. If you want to be the best artist you can be, you have to risk looking like a fool in order to get better. Now I'm squinting, I'm thinking, okay, how are my shadows being balanced? I think what's going on here? Okay, I went to white again. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's very confusing. Opaque watercolor. Yeah, I did something there that's causing it to mess up. I don't know what. It's some sort of effect. Yeah, okay, that's better. So I'm still mapping my shadows. It looks like some light's catching over here. I think I want to indicate that. It looks like it's catching more up here, so I'm going to undo that. Here, 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 and let's see how it lines up here. Yeah, so it pretty much links up with this shadow in terms of where it's located. I'm going to indicate the profile a little more strongly, just indicate that far brow. It looks like the nasal bone causes a bump here. Okay. And then I think originally I wanted to redesign the light. I think I'm just going to pretty much copy the light from the photo. Which, you know, as far as goals for the future go, I'd like to be better with that, but you know, it's okay to just be like, you know what, another time. You do want to push yourself, but sometimes you want to say, let's just do it the way that's easier rather than reinventing the light completely when I don't I'm not an expert on light, but it is a goal. It's just not the focus of this assignment. Alright, so let's see. As far as filling these in, I don't know how to use the lasso tool in this program, so I'm just going to kind of fill it in. And we'll see if that works. I'm just going to fill it in with flat shadow pretty much. So let's see if I can just fill this in. Now you'll notice this, what I'm filling in right now, is not black necessarily because it's a shadow. It's black because it's the local color. That's something I'm struggling with right now is, wait, shadows are black or dark, but local colors in the light are also really dark. It gets confusing. It's not true that the darkest dark is, or the lightest dark is darker than the darkest light. Sometimes things are in the light and they're just straight up black. It's confused. Like this nose that's in the light is darker than this, right? It's confusing. But that's something I want to figure out more on. I'm going to be doing some work on that with my mentor and figuring out what's going on there. So lighting and rendering are both things I'm going to be working on in the probably with the rest of the year. I'm going to be working on lighting a lot more because that's what's given me the most trouble. One way of training, I was listening to Eric Gist, or Gist, I think it's Eric Gist, on the Watts Atelier YouTube channel. And he was talking about you want to be attacking your weaknesses until your weaknesses become your strengths. And I thought that was really cool. It's one of their more recent videos if you want to check that out. I think I want to darken this whole... Oh, you know what? That was supposed to be a light. Okay. Dang. If you're watching this, you're probably like, what is he doing? And you're like, yeah, maybe I'll make it work. Nope. Just messed up. We can just erase that. Alright. Actually, is this on a different layer? Okay, we can just erase that. Easy peasy. See? The magic of layers. Alright, so we're just going to go here and darken this whole area up. I think what I'm actually going to do is introduce a layer in between the light and the dark just to get a midtone, an area of midtone, so I can have a third value, which would allow me to emphasize the lights more. So what I'm going to do here, that can be dark. You know, is this good? I don't know, but I'm working through it. I'm learning. I'm making mistakes. And let's see, was that a raster? Yeah. So we're going to get a nice midtone and just mass it in. We're going to need more. What the heck just happened? Okay, so I've got white. I don't know why it went to white. I'm confused, but I'll learn this program as I go. Let's see, maybe I could put that under here. Would that work better? I think that works better. Okay, and then I want a bigger brush size. It seems like that's how you do that. Okay. We're going to go like that. Try to get a little bit cleaner than that. If anybody's familiar with this program, Clip Studio, I think it's called, probably shaking their head because I don't know how to use this at all. I've done Photoshop, but I have not ever used this program, so I'm trying to use Photoshop shortcuts, and it's getting me into some trouble. I don't know how to use the lasso tool in this, so bear with me. Dog with me. It's an animal joke. Alright. So now we've got our midtone. And we're going to see where we want our lights. And we can put some white over that. So we're going to go to a new layer. New... What do we want? A new raster. Okay, so we'll go to white. Brush tool. Yep. Small. And we want that highlight in the eye. A bit of the white of the eye here. Now that's going to look a little weird. So that's basically the idea. Now what you want to do from here, I'm not going to do it in this video. I might do it in a small area. But this is the big picture. And then what you want to do is you want to start, going in. You want to get these edges softened out because these aren't hard edges in the original. These are just the shadow shapes. So what you actually want to do here is, can I absorb this? Yeah. You want to go into here and start softening these edges. I think I want to reduce the opacity. So maybe that's the brush density. Yeah, I think those are it. Then we want a darker. I don't know. Let's see. B. Like that. Only it's way too dense. Can I do that? Does that reduce the opacity? That's so confusing. I don't understand this program. I want to go darker. Okay, there we go. All right, but it's not. Oh, it's treating it like it's wet. I don't want it to treat it like it's wet. Maybe it's because it's watercolor. I see. Okay, still learning this program. Thick paint. Maybe I want to do thick paint. All right, let's try this. You like that? Let's look at the point across anyway. What you want to do is you want to start softening these edges. I'm really having trouble with this program. I have no idea how this paint behaves. Yeah, it's really awkward trying to do this, but what I'm trying to do is smooth out these edges so that I communicate that this is more of a rounded form. And so it's not just a sharp edge here. So once I've got the shadow shapes, I want to come in here and I want to smooth out these edges. Unfortunately, I'm just having a rough go of it. Trying to make it happen. With this program. Yeah, so I'm sort of looking back and forth. I'm trying to smooth out certain areas. And then what I'd pretty much do is I'd, do it. Does it need to be that pure black? Probably not. Maybe it's, more like this. Maybe I save that black for the occlusions. But I just wanted to show you how I generate shadow shapes, and, maybe I save that black for the focal point of the image where I want the most contrast. See, here now we're starting to get there. And then maybe we want to get a little bit lighter as more light catches underneath the lid of that eye. See, we're going to have some more light catching down here. Maybe I can get a little brighter. What the heck? Okay. Something like that. There we go. Okay, so like that. And at this point, you would just begin to render it and work it up. On the rounder areas, you would want a smoother transition, but you can have hard transitions too. Right here, for example, that's a really hard edge on that ear. So maybe I want that ear. That's a really, yeah. So there's more shadow in there, in that cranny there. So let me go to a fairly dark. Yeah. So it gets lighter over here, and then it's really dark as it gets closer to this ear. Maybe it's the hardness. This will make it a softer edge. I want a softer transition here. Yeah, something like that. And then, so it's really light on this ear, so maybe I want to emphasize that lightness. I could either do that by darkening this area, or I could do that by lightening this. I think I want to darken this. I feel like it's too, yeah. So you'd do something like that. You'd go into here, and now this light rim, the area that's catching on this ear, is going to appear lighter just because I darkened the surroundings. And so then you go through, and you would just get all this, get the lighting, and you're going in with the understanding of what the forms are doing underneath. You know what things to emphasize and what not to emphasize because you understand the anatomy. And then something like that. Probably want to get darker there. Maybe a little smaller. Oops. Now I'm wondering, so it gets a little darker here. It's catching the light is catching more up here than down here. That seems too dark. Let's lighten that up a bit. Yeah, so here. So it's catching more. I can get that lighter, yeah. We're gonna have light catching here. Light catching here. Light catching up here. Maybe if I go like this, I'll be able to get it right. It's kind of blending in a weird way I don't like. But all these frustrations and all these struggles, that's you learning the medium. So here we're gonna have light catching here, maybe a bit brighter there. At least here we can have it be a bit brighter. See, there's light catching here. There's light catching down here. I wonder why. That's just rim light from the background. Okay, so that's interesting. I probably don't want a stark white background. If I were actually going to render this, I wouldn't do it with a stark white. I'm sorry. Now we're having some light catch here. So this is a rounded form, so it's going to stick up a bit. Some light catching down here, and there's actually a lot of light catching. I might have to do a new layer because I'm not sure how to do this over top unless it just gives it to me, which it seems like it's actually cooperating. That's good. Okay. And then go here. Go here. We're having some light catch here. It looks like we have a little bit of light catching here, which is on this whisker bed, it seems. And then we'd have some light catching on this eyebrow. Not really an eyebrow, but you know what I mean. This area over the eye. We're going to have some light catching over here. We're actually going to look at that. Remember when I said that the only thing that was defining the nose, the shape of the nose, was this area right here? Go ahead and get that little highlight. It's a little too obvious. Remember that if it's surrounded by dark, it's not going to be a pure white. It's going to look like a white because it's surrounded by pure black, but it's actually going to be way darker than you think. So just sort of go darker than you think you need to if you're doing a something that's light in the shadow. You can go darker than you think. You're going to think it's a white because like, oh, it looks like white. But it's probably not white. It's probably just looks white because it's surrounded by pitch black. And then on the top of this, it's going to be catching a little light, so we're not going to want pure black at the top. It's still going to be dark even though it's in the lights because it's local color. Local color is just it's color in the absence of light, pretty much. Like if you under neutral lighting conditions is local color. Like, what does it look like without being influenced by colored light or anything like that? So, like, the local color of a fire hydrant is red, but under a blue light, it might look purple. A strong blue light. That's all that means. So this would all be finagling at this point. So I'm looking at things and I'm saying, okay, does this look right? No. I need to adjust the values here. And then I would soften these edges that look too hard. I would just soften things up. And it looks like some light. Remember, these lips are going to be have a thickness to them. So you see that form that wraps around? Now, the thing I learned from looking at Glenn Vilppu's videos is you can't see anatomy just by looking at a dog. You won't see it until someone points it out to you. So I just want to point these things out to you like Glenn Vilppu does for me. He was doing these drawings and I didn't see them. He was drawing a boxer, like the dog, a boxer dog. He was pointing out things about the anatomy. And it's like they just emerged to me that I didn't see at all before. So it's like you go into the woods with a tour guide and they'll point things out to you that you never would have taken notice of, like the trees, or you go to a city with a tour guide and it's a totally different experience than if you're just going on your own because they tell you what to look for. They'll say, oh, this building was actually significant because the rebels used it as a base of operations, and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. But if you didn't have a tour guide, you would just walk right past it and be like, oh, it's a building. It's the same way with anatomy and drawing. If you have a good anatomy teacher showing you the way, like someone like Glenn Vilppu or Steve Houston on a New Masters Academy, they don't sponsor me, but I use the website and I love it. It's been really great. So check it out it's like $40 a month, which I thought was steep when I first started, but it's totally worth it. It's awesome. It's a really great site. Totally recommend it. Yeah, they're really great. But anyway, having a tour guide for anatomy is really important because they'll show you things that you won't see it until they show you it. It's not an intuitive concept that it's just right in front of me. I would think that if I see something, if it's there, I'm gonna see it, but you won't. You think you will. You think you'll notice something. It's really cool because it's like someone handing you a pair of, kind of like someone handing you a pair of X-ray goggles or something, or heat vision goggles that allow you to see the world in a completely different way, and all of a sudden you'll see bones you didn't see before. You'll see how the skin folds. You'll see shapes that weren't at all clear to you before that start to emerge, and you'll be like, oh, I know what that is. I can see it now. It's like seeing the world with new eyes. It's really cool once you watch someone like Glenn Vilppu explain the figure to you, and you're like, oh, that's what that is. I've drawn the figure 100 times, and I never noticed that, that anatomical feature, but now it's like, oh, I see it. That's the patella, or that's the semimembranosus. And I've looked at it 100 times, but I just drew it as like this, non-committal shape because I just thought it was a lump. But now that I know what it is, I can draw it really clearly. So that's why you need good teachers, because they'll show you stuff that you won't see even though you've looked at things for 100 times. It's so cool. So that's my plug for Glenn Vilppu, because I've been watching his videos and he's so good. He's so good. He's such a great teacher. I'd love to be a teacher of like him or Marshall Vandruff. Just total teaching idols. They're so good. And we're just kind of smoothing things together, balancing the local color with the values of the lights. This hangs down. Something like that. Okay, I'm getting to the end of this. Yeah, I think that's as far as I'm going to take this one. But pretty much what I would do is I'd keep massaging these edges until it gets to be the way I want it. You might want to get some, do this on a new layer. Alright. Instead of that stark white background, you might want to incorporate a darker background so it stands out more clearly, and so you don't wash out. Like if you're working on a white background, those highlights won't stand out as much because you're working on a sea of white. I don't know if I'd want to use pure black, but I've already started, so. Oh well. We'll have some rim light here. Rim light is just when you've got light coming in from the back. And you can use it in an instance such as this when you want to help that black. Well, I actually don't mind losing that edge, I don't think. But you could just do a dark background. Maybe, I mean, you want to work with once you get the inner edges, you just block it in. Let's fill this in really quick now. And this is what I do on a cast drawing or something. Let's just get that in. It's okay to lose the edges, like on the nose here, it'll still read correctly. It's okay to group your shadows together. Some would say better. And then just something like that. And that would be how I did that dog. More or less. I mean, if I were going to take more time on it, we could polish it up and hopefully make it a little better. But that pretty much, it taught me something. I learned about it. So, yeah, I hope you learned something. I'm doing these videos to practice teaching and lecturing and demoing and getting over my anxiety about how do I draw and explain things at the same time. So I loved doing it. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions, because I love answering questions. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find someone who does, and I can direct you to good books and good teachers. But that's it. So I don't know, comment with any questions you have. And have a good one. Love to ya all. And I will go ahead and close out this video.